Hi, I'm DK with Adventures in Dirt. Hey, earlier last year in June of 2020, after I had released that the Forrest Fenn treasure had been found, I was invited to be a guest on the Steffan Tubbs radio show here in Denver. Here's the audio of that radio program. Enjoy.
So have you heard of the Fenn treasure? Fenn. I had heard about this, and honestly, for the last few years, had not thought about this much until it seemed like every other year, or maybe more, or maybe our guest knows, there would be someone that would be hunting for this treasure in the Rocky Mountains and would end up dying because of the conditions or whatever. I'm happy to welcome on a guy that I saw on Saturday night when my kids and I were actually following this, and we went to YouTube, and I see this guy who's talking about, yeah, it's late Saturday night, but wanted to let you know the treasure's been found. His name is Ken King, and lo and behold, the brother man lives in Longmont, or at least he's calling us from there. So, Ken, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, listen, Steffan, thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And, hey, I'm really thrilled that you and your son would be watching my live stream. That's awesome.
Yes, brother. It was awesome. And there's like a billion questions that I want to ask you, but the first and foremost about the YouTube, your live thing was, I could not help, and nor did you mask or try to mask. There was just a little bit of disappointment that this treasure has been found. So I want to get to that, but I want to go into this to start. And again, treasure hunter Ken King, and we'll get all of his information, tweet it out, and put it on our Facebook pages how you can follow him. But I want to start from the beginning, assuming, and you know how this is, let's assume no one has heard of Forrest Fenn or the Fenn treasure. Can you kind of give us a history lesson?
Sure thing, sure. Forrest Fenn, has got quite a history. He's been a Vietnam War vet, earned the Silver Star, earned the rank of Major in the United States Air Force, was shot down a couple times. He's owned an art gallery. He's been an archaeologist, just an all-around man of the world. And in 1988, Forrest Fenn was diagnosed with cancer, and it was likely terminal. That's what his doctors were telling him. So he decided what he was going to do was fill this chest full of all of his treasures that he had compiled over the years, and they were quite extensive. He was going to go out to his favorite place in the middle of some place he wouldn't divulge, lay down and die with his treasure chest. This is the type of guy he was. He wanted to go out on his own terms. His father had done the same thing, and this is what he wanted to do. And in that chest, he would leave his biography, and people would be able to then learn about his legacy that way. Well, something happened. He went into remission, and Mr. Fenn got better. He got well, and his plans were sort of put on hold. Well, he still had this chest, and it was still filled with treasure sitting on his shelf. And in 2010, or probably before 2010, if you think about it, started concocting this idea of creating a treasure hunt and creating a poem and crafting a poem of clues that, if deciphered, would lead people directly to the treasure chest. And in 2010, he self-published The Thrill of the Chase. It was a memoir that about short stories from his life, and his life was really interesting. I really recommend everyone reading it. It's a great read. And in that book, he wrote his poem. And his poem is a 6-stanza, 24-line poem. And in it, he said there are 9 clues. He wouldn't tell you what clues they were or which ones were the clues, but he said if you decipher them correctly, it'll lead you directly to the treasure chest.
Interesting. Again, our guest is Ken King. I love you already, by the way.
Hey, man, thanks.
He is from Longmont. He's a treasure hunter. Okay, do you have the poem handy?
Sure do.
Okay, let's go. Let's alternate the stanzas, shall we?
Sure.
Okay, so you're
there's 6. You want me to do them one stanza at a time? We can try to decipher them.
Oh, yeah, that might even be better. Okay, so let me start, and then you can read the second one. So here's the first stanza.
All right.
As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. All right, analyze that for us.
With this hunt and with the analyzing of these clues over the years, a real searcher will change his mind about these clues many, many times. Mm-hmm. I always thought, now I'm into gold prospecting and a lot of other type of treasure hunting, metal detecting and such. And this always struck me as I have gone alone in there, like some old prospector back in the day with his treasures bold, with his gold dust, he can keep his secret where if you can picture this gold miner coming into town and going to the assay office and turning in his gold dust and kind of keeping a secret as to where his gold mine is, and hint of riches new and old, he heads to the saloon and starts big fish stories of who's going to hit it rich and who has struck it rich and who's going to hit it rich next and everything. And that kind of set up a tone to me of a mining town.
Okay.
I think that was more of a hint rather than a clue.
Okay. You take the second stanza.
Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown.
Oh, the home of Brown. That sounds like a good clue.
And Brown is capitalized.
Yes, it is. So what do you take from that?
Well, over the years, Forrest has said many things, and just fairly recently, he came right out and said the first clue is begin it where warm waters halt. He said, if you don't have that, you have nothing. So that was a huge clue to the community, and it was amazing that he came out and said that. He's said many other things also, but that was a big one. So we have to find where warm waters halt, and then take it in the canyon down, and then he's given us some kind of distance to evaluate, and then the clue would be to double-check your solve. It has to be in below the home of Brown, whatever that means.
Do you know what that means today?
Today, I do not.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about it, but no one knows the correct deciphering of this poem except for one man.
Yeah. Forrest Fenn.
And the person that recently found it.
Yeah. Let me ask you, before we get back to these other stanzas, do you think, and I know I know because I watched your Facebook Live on your channel, but couple people, and my producer Adam was saying, couple people are saying it was either never buried and it was a hoax, or this is a hoax that somebody found it. What do you think?
Yeah, Steffan, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And more than just a couple, quite a few. If on my YouTube channel, I read all the comments and respond to them, and many of them really believe that. I'm just not, do you believe in Santa Claus or not?
Hell yes.
Hell yeah, we do. So yeah, there's a treasure, and yeah, some guy found it, and I totally believe that.
Okay.
I don't think Forrest would have put his family through some of the troubles that they have gone through, and all the pressure and trouble he's gone in with the poor souls that have lost their lives looking for this treasure. He's been under so much pressure to end this thing. I just don't think that he would have continued to make a couple extra bucks. The man is very well off financially, and so is his family. They have nothing to worry about, and I just don't think he needs an extra $12 from a sale of a book.
Yeah, we're talking with treasure hunter from Longmont, Ken King. We're going to get how you can see him on YouTube. I want to know later in the hour. I want to know the coolest thing you've ever found, if you are willing to share that. Let's go back to the poem again. This man, a Vietnam veteran, Forrest Fenn, he has this 6-stanza poem, and we've gone through 2 of them, so I'll pick up the third. From there, It's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. All right, translate that for us.
Oh, easy. None of this is easy. I'm telling you, for years, people have been racking their brains with this, and it will drive you absolutely nuts. To me, this is a directional stanza. This is, in some of the articles and interviews he's had, he said he drove his car to the location where he hid the treasure, parked his car, and made 2 trips to the location in an afternoon. He had to take 2 trips because the treasure chest weighed 42 pounds, and he was 70 years old, and it was hard for him to carry it in 1 trip. So from this tells me this is where he parked his car. And from there, it's no place for the meek. That means there's some kind of bravery that has to happen here. The end is ever drawn nigh. That means you're close. Your quest is almost over. There'll be no paddle up your creek. Who knows? Does that mean a dry riverbed? Does that mean you're going up creek? If you're next to a river or next to a creek, you're going to travel up creek. Heavy loads and water high. Are you looking up and seeing mountains and rocky mountains and large boulders and snow-covered peaks. These are the kind of things that came into my head as I'm thinking about this stanza. But everyone else has very different opinions of it, probably including your producer, Adam.
Yeah. No, Adam, I swear, he told me before the show started, he says, damn it, I was going to go spend some time and try to do my own search coming up this summer.
Right.
So, okay,
right.
I just got to reset again.
As was I.
Were you really? So, okay,
Absolutely.
so the Rocky Mountain Range is obviously, we're not just talking parts of New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. This could possibly go up into Canada, right?
It could, but he eliminated that in an interview he did. He said it is not up in Canada.
Okay.
It's north of Santa Fe, and it doesn't go any further than the Canadian border.
Well,
also not into Utah, not into Idaho either.
Interesting. Well, still, that's from the Canadian border to New Mexico. Call me crazy. There's a lot of hiding places there. All right, why don't you pick up with the fourth stanza?
Yeah, many places to hide a 10 by 10 inch by 10 inch box, isn't
there? Yeah, no doubt.
The next stanza says, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace.
Okay, by the fourth stanza, I'm out. I have no idea what that means. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you take from that?
Let me see. Yeah, if you've been wise and found the blaze, that tells me. So again, the stanza before it, and I believe these are in order. The stanza before it kind of gives you directional to get to some type of area. And then I believe there is some type of blaze that once you get to the area, because if you read the rest of this stanza, you're there, brother.
Yeah.
You were there. Look quickly down. Your quest is over. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just check the chase, just take the chest and go in peace. That means don't dilly-dally, don't stand around there and whoop it up. Grab the chest and get out of there. And that could be a hint on its own. If you've been wise and found the blaze, I think he left some kind of marking behind, either scribed rock or some kind of carved tree and maybe a big F or something that if you found your way to this location, there would be some type of trailblazing marker that would catch your attention. A lot of people think it's has to do with the fire hole and fire hole and this and that. I don't think so. I think it's truly a marked blaze on some type of outcropping or a tree. And then you look down and he's hidden it there somehow,
I think he says just take the chest and go in peace because Sasquatch is around.
That's right.
Here's the fifth stanza. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak.
Yeah. A lot of people, including me, don't believe there's many other clues in the rest of the poem. I believe this was just sort of some filler, in my opinion. And boy, people argue with me about this all the time. But
I'm sure.
I think this was, when he wrote this poem, he was kind of explaining why he did this. It ties in with his, cancer story, and I just think that's what this one is about.
Mm-hmm. All right, finish up the poem. We'll take our first break, and we'll be back with Ken King of Longmont, treasure hunter, fascinated by this story just because in reading the fascination of others, that got me over the last 48 hours kind of fascinated with this story. And, of course, with him being a Vietnam veteran, my ears perk up because we always celebrate and thank our veterans. But you take that final stanza, we'll take a break, and then we'll be back more with you. Go ahead.
Excellent. It sure is an exciting time, I'll tell you. So last stanza says, so hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. Forrest Fenn.
Wow. When we come back, we'll put Mr. King on hold. When we come back, I want to ask him first, right out of the gates, I want to ask him to the best of his knowledge, or maybe there's a list. I'm new to the story. But what is in the chest and how much is it worth, et cetera, et cetera. As we go for variety on the Steffan Tubbs Show, and it's a modern-day treasure hunt, and we've got a treasure hunter on with us from Longmont. 303-696-1971. I guess, you know what? We should open the phones if you've searched. Have you searched for this treasure at all? 303-696-1971. We are back with the recap of somebody apparently finding Fenn's treasure. That's coming up next.
Steffan Tubbs, News Talk 710, KNUS.
This is all about the Fenn treasure. Forrest Fenn, who buries the box, the treasure chest, whatever it was 20 pounds, 22 pounds of stuff inside. So as I promised when we went to the break, to the best of your knowledge, what's in it and how much do you think it's worth?
Yeah, great question. He put all kinds of things in there. Just an amazing assortment of collection of gold nuggets. Some of them weighing as much as a pound.
Oh my!
I think he had something. He had like over 250 gold coins, like double eagle gold coins, in sleeves. And there's a picture of it out there that actually shows some of these items. A Spanish. He had like a gold ring that was from the 17th century. It was like Spanish, large emeralds and like necklaces. He had a Navajo bracelet in there that he actually has been. That's the only item that he actually has said that he wants back. He said, the finder can keep it all, but I want the Navajo bracelet back because it had sentimental value to him.
Huh.
I guess he wanted it in a pool game with one of his buddies. But yeah, he also had his biography in there. He had like this gold frog in there. You can see this gold frog, all these different ingots and rubies and sapphires and diamonds true treasure chest. True treasure chest. Just blows your mind.
What do you think the value is? I mean, it sounds like with all of that, it's kind of tough, but give us an estimate.
Yeah, $2 million is what I always go with. I know a lot of the news reports they're saying $1 million, but you also see them that say $3 million. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go in the middle and say $2 million. I've always said $2 million. He said he never had it valued. He never had each individual piece appraised, but he said the collection altogether would be worth a pretty penny.
Let me ask you this, and then we've got a caller who says he knows of another treasure. And I remember as a little boy, we did a lot of motorbiking, dirt riding, dirt bikes out in the desert. Growing up in San Diego, we'd head east and we'd go to Borrego and we'd go out there. My dad always used to tell this story. He'd say, "Look at those mountains over there. Those are the superstitions." And the rumor has it that when this was, and this is, I mean, again, I'm 8 years old, but I always remembered this was my only and closest to a treasure hunt. He's like, somewhere over there, the rumor is there's a Spanish galleon that when this area was covered with water, and whether or not this was total BS, which I think it was because there was a lot of original Coors being drank right around that time. But there's something mystical, right, about buried treasure, pirates, and the gold, and I just it's something that this goes back centuries. Talk about that.
It does. It absolutely does. And that allure of those legends that just pull people in. I know I learned my love of it from my father. My father was always one of these ones that would always go bring more stuff back from the dumps that he would take, trying to find those first edition books and whatever else he could find. And I remember, thrifting with him and such at a young age. And it's just always that unknown, that sense of the unknown and the fantastic. And it's just really can hook you. And I've heard about that ship in the desert also. I've heard that there are many, many treasure legends right here in Colorado.
Really?
I know of at least 10. Oh, yeah, all kinds. Between the Cave of Gold, Caverna del Oro, between the, different stagecoaches that have been robbed. Like, I'm really big right now into the Reynolds gang. I'm into metal detecting, and we're hunting an area right now that has a lot of tie to the Reynolds gang, and they hid some treasure before they got massacred, basically, by a lot of soldiers.
Huh.
Yeah, they were bad guys, but they hid a bunch of their loot before they were sort of taken prisoner or killed. And they even the last guy of the gang wrote a treasure map. He actually drew out a treasure map,
wow,
identifying canyons and mountains, and it's exciting.
Wow. Again, our guest is Ken King. I am so fortunate, and this is the good Lord working right. Saturday night, we see the I don't know, a tweet or whatever, that this Fenn treasure, which I just barely had heard of. I had only heard of it when it would come up that, somebody else from Colorado had died trying to find this treasure. And then I find Ken on his YouTube channel. Before we go any further, and again, I could talk to you probably for another 3 hours, but tell us how our listeners can find you, I don't know if you're on social media, but use it as a plug. Please feel free.
Sure thing. Who would have thought I'd be 53 years old and have social media like Twitter and Instagram? But boy, I do. I tell you, you can go to any one of them. My main site is YouTube, of course. I'm really into sort of sharing and supporting the treasure hunting community. I have a weekly show every week called The Weekly Dirt, where I kind of tell you what's going on in the metal detecting world, show you some cool finds being found out there by other treasure hunters and stuff. And you just search anything on social media called Adventures in Dirt, and you're sure to find me.
And you're on Twitter at Adventures Dirt. There you go. I'll put
Adventures in Dirt. Yep.
So let me ask you this. You've got, first of all, if you're still married, you're lucky. Because treasure hunters, I imagine you're out a lot, but you have 6 kids. What do they think about all this?
I don't know. I don't see them anymore. They're all older. They're all older and out of the house and have their own families. We've got one left here that's sort of hanging behind, but yeah, they're all older and out. They all love it. My stepson, I have 4 stepkids and two children, so we're kind of this mixed family. And my stepson came with me with my wife on Easter Sunday for our very first boots on the ground hunt to go find Forrest Fenn's treasure. It was in 2017. Wow. And we drove 8 hours north into Wyoming to go look for this treasure hunt, because when I explained to them my solve of this poem, they were sold just as I was, and we had to go.
You know, that's really cool to hear that, and I'm being serious, that you could get at least however long that was, whether it was a day trip or a weekend trip or a 3-4 day trip. I mean, you got the family involved as well. It sounds like you do the metal detecting and all of that. That's what's the are you retired?
Oh no, not at all. I have a pretty involved job. Matter of fact, we just got done building the emergency hospital down there at the Colorado Convention Center. So I have a sort of construction job. I'm a project manager, and I work dark to dark, man, all the time. And weekends are my time to kind of get into it, or in the afternoons, to spend some time thinking about it. Everyone always asks me how I squeeze all this into my free time, which isn't much. And I just do. I'm efficient, I guess.
Let me ask you a series of yes or no questions, and then we'll get to a call. Do you think, yes or no, this has in fact been found?
Yes.
Do you think that Forrest Fenn did it for publicity for himself more than anything?
No.
Do you think before he dies, he will put another kind of treasure hunt together?
No, but I'd like to comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually has somewhat. He didn't release a poem or anything, but he makes these, what are they made out of? Maybe somebody will know if they call in, or maybe Adam knows. He makes these bell jars that he makes himself, and he fills them full of his biography and all kinds of stuff. And I think he's hidden about 12 of them all over the place. 2 feet down. He said it'll be thousands of years until people find him.
Adam says they're
people
bronze.
Will read about him in his life. Yeah. Bronze bell jars. And so he has hidden other treasures out there. He puts little trinkets in them and such, but no clues to them, no idea where they're at. He just said they're going to be organically found someday by somebody.
You know, I can't help but think of Indiana Jones, the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, and with Belloc and Indy, they were in, I believe, Cairo, and Belloc, the bad guy, they're both treasure hunters, obviously, and he says, "Do you see this watch? $10 from a flea market, but you bury it, and in 1,000 years, it's priceless." That's kind of a cool way to look at it. I want to take a call, and Chris in Englewood joins us. Chris, welcome to the show. You're on with Ken King, a treasure hunter in Longmont. It's good to have you on.
Well, thank you very much.
Chris.
And I think that this is a story that Ken probably knows. There was a compilation that contained this story. I believe it was Hidden Treasures of the San Juans. And my friend Lance Matsumanji was interested in one of the stories, and he got me interested. Lance was a Vietnam vet. He died last year. He had 2 Purple Hearts. He was a medic, and he volunteered to go back for a second tour. And I think he just barely made it onto the battlefield before he was wounded by shrapnel in both cases. He was 80% disabled. The guy was a genius. He was off the chart smart, and he could barely make a living. He was Mensa. He was a member of Mensa, and I remember him very fondly. But I believe I found where that treasure once was. And it's a great story. I believe that's been published in a number of different places. Stolen Bullion of Indian Ridge. It's an area that's just to the southeast of Rico, Colorado, and it's one of the loveliest trips I think you could ever care to make. And the history there is wonderful. I spent as much time learning about, for example, the Rio Grande Southern Railroad as I did searching for treasure. That, as you probably know, is everybody's favorite defunct railroad. That's the road that had the galloping geese. And there are so many other payoffs in pursuing this sort of thing that it's a wonderful experience that I would recommend it for anybody. And I have to say that I'm deeply grateful to my friends who exposed me to that.
Yeah. Chris, thank you for the phone call. Ken, before we take our final break, and then we'll get you on the other side again as we wrap up the program today, had you heard about that? And like you say, I mean, there's plenty of treasure stories in Colorado.
Yeah, I'd heard about it one. I wanted to ask Chris if it was the same one, but there was one near Pagosa Springs, sort of a lost Ute mine to where the Spanish used to come over and mine gold out of it. And I just wondered if that was it. There's so many, I'm telling you. There's just a lot out there. And I'm not familiar with all of them, but I sure am a fan of many of them. And, I just don't know if that's the same exact one or not.
Mm-hmm. Real quick.
Interesting.
I don't want to end on a negative note in our final segment, but there have been, five deaths in the search for Fenn's treasure.
That's right.
And that's, tragic. Did that at all play into you wanting to pursue?
No, not at all. I mean, I was aware of them. It was highly talked about in the community. Just, a tragedy. I think that Forrest did his best to try to warn people. He made multiple statements saying, don't go where a 7-year-old man wouldn't go. So if you're climbing a cliff, that I didn't do that. I was a 7-year-old man. If you're wading in, chest-high water in a fast-moving river, I didn't do that. So don't do what a 7-year-old man wouldn't do. And he tried his best to put those warnings out. He said, be prepared. If you're going into the wilderness, take bear spray. Know your surroundings. Take communication devices. Take water with you. Be prepared, but enjoy yourself. And unfortunately, yes, five people did pass. There was countless others that had to be rescued, and many people injured as well. And I think that's just the nature of being out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Looking for this thing.
We are back with one more segment with our terrific guest, Ken King. You can find him on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Adventures in Dirt is Ken's social media, and just terrific. When we come back, I want to ask one question. Is somebody going to have to pay taxes on that? And I'm being serious. And was it on federal land, private lands, no man's land? As we talk about Fenn's treasure this hour, just a little diversion. Why? Because we love variety right here during this time frame. We'll get to the 710 KNUS News Center right now on 710 KNUS. Our guest has been terrific. I really hope to have him on the show again. You can find his podcast, Adventures in Dirt. Is it Spreaker? Relics Radio Show. And then his website, theringfinders.com, and then /Ken.King. Ken King joining us, treasure hunter from Longmont. I really can't thank you enough, man, on short notice and making it a great hour. I am so glad that you have prevented me from having to talk about COVID-19 this hour. So thank you. And then
if you ever
go ahead.
I said, if you ever run into that trouble again, feel free to just keep my number around, and I can talk
Totally.
about this kind of stuff all the time, and there's plenty of other type of treasure hunting that we could be chatting about. So you just keep me on speed dial there.
Listen, you are officially the unofficial official treasure hunter of the Steffan Tubbs Show. That's right.
Woo! There you go.
Oh,
ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
That doesn't
Perfect.
even get you a T-shirt, though, because we don't have any. Real quick, I want to know, and Adam and I were having this conversation before the show actually started at 3, or maybe during the show. But, okay, if buried treasure is found in a national forest or in, said county where it's somehow, some way, because right now they're keeping it hush-hush, would somebody have to pay taxes on that?
Yeah, good question. And I don't really know that I have the answer, but it's definitely a topic of a lot of discussion right now with searchers. Is it a gift? Was it gifted by means of the poem to the finder? And if it's a gift, then what kind of taxes are due to that?
Yeah.
Was it federal land? Was it state land? Was it public land, private property? All those will have bearing. My dog's going crazy here.
So he's ready to treasure hunt.
Yeah, he is. He doesn't like the word taxes. Neither do I. But the states have different laws than the federal do. The treasure trove laws. It all depends on how old the treasure is and if it's buried or if it's abandoned. All those terms will affect the outcome. Now, I do know that Forrest Fenn claimed and stated in some interviews that he consulted attorneys for weeks before creating this thing and numerous times before creating this treasure hunt. So he really looked into that, and I think that he's either solved it or he set himself up for maybe some of that treasure coming back to him. I don't know.
He reminds me, and sadly we only got a minute left, but he reminds me kind of like a Howard Hughes type guy, maybe.
Yeah, he's an interesting character for sure, and I encourage everyone to go out there and grab his books and read up about him. He's just a wonderful person to read about.
Listen, you've been a wonderful guest. I can't thank you enough. And who knew that you were only 45 minutes north of where we're broadcasting from? I can't thank you enough. I have you on again. And please, you got my email. If there's anything coming up that we can help you with or promote or whatever, please just get in touch with us.
Well, we'll offer this out there. You mentioned ring finders. That's about the only business I have wrapped around this treasure hunting thing. Mm-hmm. If you've lost a ring or jewelry, anything out there in the Colorado area, reach out to me on the ringfinders.com/ken.king or get a hold of me at the email or any of the links down below here on the show bumper there. And I will be able to come out and find anything of metal that you've lost with my metal detector, and we'll just work on a reward basis. And if I don't find it, you don't pay. So there you go.
That's awesome. Great stuff, Ken. Thank you so much, and it's nice to meet you over the radio.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You bet. That's it. That's a wrap. I will say 2 things. Busy show, no disrespect meant, first and foremost, to our Easter egg. So tomorrow, Adam, remind me, we will play our Easter egg twice. We've got a 4-hour show. That was a good show. Like King a lot.
Hey, that's it. It was a fun interview. I hope you enjoyed it. The link to Steffan's show is right down below. You can go catch all of his on-demand shows down there. I encourage you to go take a look. It's a good one from Steffan Tubbs Radio Show.